A Starkville family's worst nightmare has become their life's mission. 16-year-old Walker Montgomery took his own life after falling victim to an online sextortion scam. Now, his father is pleading with parents to protect their children, and lawmakers are fighting to hold social media companies accountable.
He told the person, said, "I'm going to kill myself." And the person's response was, "Go ahead, because you're already dead anyway."
On November 30th, 2022, the Montgomery family's day looked like so many others. Walker went hunting with his dad, shared dinner and prayers with his mom, a 16-year-old with dreams, friends, and a family that loved him. But by dawn, his life was gone.
Walker went to bed perfectly normal. He had what every 16-year-old kid would dream of having as far as his friends and family and everything else. And it's hard to imagine that you can go to bed with your kids in that situation and they're not with you the next day.
In the middle of the night, Walker was targeted by an online predator.
And about midnight, Walker was contacted for someone pretending to be a young girl in the area. The conversation started with just, "Hey, what's up? I'm friends with another friend on Instagram," and just building credibility.
The scammer convinced him to participate in a sexual encounter and recorded it from the other end.
And as soon as that was over, the person went back to Walker and said, "Hey, we have this video and we're going to send it to all of your friends and family if you don't pay us $1,000. Walker panicked.
Walker told them he didn't have the money and begged them not to send the video.
Finally, the person started sending Walker screenshots of the video being sent out. It actually wasn't being sent out, but it showed him. It looked like the person was sending the videos out to people in his Instagram feed, that he was friends with. And of course, he's begging them to stop. And finally, they get to Walker's mom, and he told the person, said, "I'm going to kill myself." And the person's response was, "Go ahead, because you're already dead anyway if you don't send us the money." At some point in the morning, it was within 3 or 4 hours of first contact, Walker went into my safe and got a handgun and took his own life.
Walker attended Starkville Academy, played football, had lots of friends, was active in his church, and beloved by all. Brian says online predators typically target teens who are athletes and popular with classmates like Walker.
It's more so relative to a kid's perspective on his surroundings, meaning that socially, if it looks like he has more to lose, athletes are very high on that list because they're popular, a lot of people know them, they're connected to a lot of people.
For Brian Montgomery, the pain is still unbearable, but he's determined his son's story will not end with tragedy.
I'm committed that Walker's legacy is not what happened that night. His legacy is going to be the kids that are going to get to live.
That legacy is now law. The Walker Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act requires age verification and parental consent for minors on social media. Guardrails to slow down predators hiding behind fake accounts. Mississippi Representative Fabian Nelson co-authored House Bill 1126.
What this bill does is it requires our social media platforms to verify the age of users that are to make sure that minors under the age of 18 are not using the services without parental consent.
Nelson says the bill is personal for him as a lawmaker and as a father.
As a father, I know how it is. Kids get on social media. There's a lot of bullying that goes on social media. In Walker's case, he didn't feel comfortable talking to his parents. I approached it as being a parent and thinking about the other parents and thinking about how social media has really hurt so many of our teenagers.
Nelson says parents must realize what's at stake. Online threats don't just come from bullies at school. They can come from continents away. The people who targeted Walker were found to be in Nigeria. The law still faces pushback from tech companies. Brian says with age verification, these companies will likely lose ad revenue.
It is a revenue-driven perspective from tech, and they're very good at cloaking that into a First Amendment, issue, but it's really about the dollars. My argument was always, look, we got to place a stake in the sand somewhere and say, hey, this is where we're going to fight. We're going to fight this hill. And And fortunately, Mississippi said, you know what, we're with you.
Brian says Walker showed no signs of despair before that night. He was loved, supported, surrounded by friends, and still, it wasn't enough to shield him from the pressure of one cruel message.
We were living life, everything was going great, and we wake up one day and life will never be the same.
For the Montgomerys, telling their story is not only about healing, it's about warning. They know no law will bring Walker back, but they hope sharing his story will spare other families from waking up to the same nightmare.
His nickname was Hammer. So he got that when he was young, but that's all his friends know him as Hammer. But Walker was one of the most kind-hearted, loving people that you would ever meet. He loved to hunt, he loved farm equipment, and he loved football, and he loved his family. As parents, we've got to do our part, and I can look back on things that I wish I'd have done better and wish I'd have known that I didn't know, but it wasn't supposed to be Walker.
The Walker-Montgomery Protecting Children Online Act is now law in Mississippi. Even though it still faces challenges, Brian Montgomery and lawmakers like Fabian Nelson believe the mission is clear. Protect our kids no matter the cost. If you or anyone you know has suicidal thoughts, help is available. The Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is 988.